In this lecture, we're going to implement a feature that will basically move the map to the position of the workout that was clicked in the sidebar. So the feature that I mean is this one. So when I click one of these, then as I said, the map will move to the position of that workout. And so this is a very nice touch to the user interface. And so let's now do that. And let's say that we're starting with a blank page like this. So the initial state of our application. And so of course, right now, there are no workouts on which we could click. And so in this case, where should we actually attach the event handler to? So this is the situation that I actually had mentioned already earlier. So again, the situation in which we don't have the element on which we actually want to attach the event listener because it hasn't been created yet. And so what we have to do here is one more time, basically event delegation. So what we're going to do is to add the event handler to the parent element. And so in our HTML, we can see that is this workouts element here. So basically the element with the class of workouts. And so let's see here in the code which one that is. All right, so it's called container workouts. So let's add an event listener to that element there. And remember, one more time, we do that in the constructor so that the event listener is added right in the beginning. So container workouts dot add event listener on click. And then we're going to create a method called a move to pop up just like this. So let's copy it and then add it here at the end. Now these methods that we have here, they're not really ordered in any particular way. So I'm just adding them as I go here. Now, anyway, here we are going to need the event because now we will have to match the object or actually the element that we're actually looking for. So what I will do here is to create the workout element. And basically all that I'm going to do is to look at e.target. So that's the element that is actually clicked. And then I will look for the closest workout parent. So closest, which is again, essentially the opposite of a query selector. And so the element that I'm looking for is the one with the class workout. So like this, wherever the click happens here in the element, so no matter if it's in one of these divs or these spans, it doesn't matter, all of it will then basically end up in this li element with the workout class. Because from the element that is clicked, we will move up to this exact element here using the closest method. All right, so once again, closest is a real lifesaver here. It is really, really helpful. And so now let's start by logging this element to the console. All right. So let's wait for it. As always, any values here work. So of course, we first need to have something here. And now as I click it, let's see what happens. And indeed, we get the entire element here. And that works no matter if I click out here or on this emoji or really anywhere. So the closest method takes care of really then selecting this entire element. Now, why is that actually so important? Well, it's because it is right there where I have this ID. And it is this ID that I will now use to actually find the workout in the workouts array. And so once again, we put this here because with this, we can then basically build a bridge between the user interface and the data that we have actually in our application. So in this case, our data in the workouts array. Because if we didn't have this ID here stored in the user interface, then how would we know which is the objects in the workouts array that we need to scroll to? And so we need this ID here so that we can now read it and basically then select the element out of the workouts array using this ID. Now let's just happen when we click outside here in the same container. So you see that this here is still a container outside. And so when we click this now, we of course get null because there is no closest parent with the workout class. All right. And so we will actually have to basically ignore that. And so this is the next step. So if basically there is no workout element, then simply return. And so again, this is a guard clause here. So of course we could have done also if there is a workout element and then the if block, but this is a bit nicer. And so now it's time to actually get the workout data out of the workouts array. So workout is equal this dot workouts, and actually that's like this. And now how do you think we will find this workout? Well, that's right. Just like in the Bankist application that we built before, we are going to use the find method to, well, essentially find an element of the array. So let's create our callback function here. And so each element in the workouts array, I will simply call work. And then I want the one which has work.id equal to that ID that I just showed you before in the DOM. And so that's workout element dot dataset dot ID. So this is, again, nothing new at this point. We used this technique a couple of times before, but this is yet another really great use case of it. And so let's take a look now. If we are able to actually get the correct one. So any random data here works just fine. Then I'm going to click it. And now we get this same error that we already had before. And we actually could have predicted this already, couldn't we? Because remember that this method here is called by the addEventListener method. And so therefore the this keyword in here is not what we want it to be. So let's move up there. So to the place where we add the event listener. So right here. And so just like before, we need to bind the this keyword to actually make it correct. Right? So I already explained before why that is necessary. So let's just try again. Now I'm clicking it. And yeah, here it is actually. So you see that this one has exactly the same ID. Let's just add another one here. And now we get this one here. But again, as I click this one, of course, we still find the correct workout from the array. And so now we can basically take the coordinates from this element and then move the map to that position. So in Leaflet, there is actually a method to do exactly that. And the method is available on all map objects. So we can take our map object that we already have, which is this one, and then we can call the setView method. And I really encourage you to go check out the documentation of this one, but I'm not going to do that right now. So anyway, the setView method needs as a first argument the coordinates. And so that's at the workout dot coords. Then the second one is the zoom level. And the zoom level we actually have already used before somewhere. So I think where we first loaded the map. So right here. And so it would be a bad practice to simply repeat the same number here. And so instead, I will create another field here. So basically another object property here. So that's going to be called map zoom level, let's say, and I will set it to 13. So let's copy this one. So here we need this dot, and now then here the same thing down here. So this dot map zoom level. And finally, we can pass in an object of options as always. Then here we can set animate to true. And then we can also set the duration basically of this animation by saying pan should be equal to yet another object, which should have the duration of 1. So this is all a little bit confusing, but again, if you want, you can read the documentation of Leaflet and then find out why exactly it works this way. So let me give it a save here now, and then let's go back here. So we can get almost rid of the console here. Okay, and add another one here, just to make this a bit more fun. And so now, let me actually click here. And yeah, beautiful, it works. And I click on this one, and of course, it then moves to that one. And of course, if I added even more, then that would just work all the same. Okay, and now just to finish this, I want to just add a very small touch here. And that will be to simply count the clicks that happen on each of the workouts. Now, I will not display that number anywhere or something like that. This is just to show you something basically. So essentially it is to make the public interface of these classes here a little bit more complete. Because right now we are actually not calling any of the methods outside of the classes themselves, right? So we are not really using any public interface here on any of these objects. And so I want to just change that just so you can see how that would work. So basically here on all the workouts, let's add a property called clicks. And we will start with 0 clicks. And then we will also have a method which will be called click. And all it will do is to increase the number of clicks. All right, so very simple, but now every object gets this method. And so in each of the workouts, we can now increase that number of clicks. And so that's very simple. All we have to do now is to take the object that we already have, which is the workout, and then using that public interface. So that's just workout.click. And that's actually it. But let's just test this. And also, actually, this will be helpful to show you something else in the next video. All right. And so as I keep clicking here, the number of clicks should actually increase. But for some reason, we get this error here. So let's see what's happening in line 289. So that's right here, telling us that the workout.click does not exist. So why is that? Well, let's take a look at the object here actually. And so in particular at the prototype. And so here, of course, click does not exist, but here it actually is. So indeed, here is the click method, and so the workout should have access to this method. So that is exactly what we learned in the previous section about the prototype chain and about how all of this actually works behind the scenes. So hopefully you remember that. But now I'm actually not sure why this isn't working. Let's go back here and bring back our fake workouts here basically. So these ones, so we can play around with them in the console. So you see that both of them have the clicks set to 0. And so let's use run1.click like this. And then as we look at run1 again, then the clicks is still at 0. So something is clearly also wrong there. Okay, so here this needs to be clicks, but I'm not sure if that was the actual error. Okay, so now the clicks increased to 2 here. So let's now check adding something here and then clicking it. Okay, and you see that it moved there. Let's click again. Oh, and now it's actually working. So now the clicks indeed increased to 1. So great, that works just fine. And again, this was just a way of showing you that we can, of course, then interact with each of the objects using their public interface. And in this case, we use that using the click method here. So that's it for this lecture. In the next video, we will then fix the fact that when we reload the page, everything is gone. And so actually we want data to persist. And so that is the missing piece in our application, and we will fix it in the next lecture.